game this time, unfortunately. But I have to say, this should make for an exciting game. RagnaroK looks like he's got that grin on his face of, ooh, that was a tough one.
He said, "Guak." Patience responded
actually
with his "Guak" as well.
That was the conversation, literally. But looks like these two are friends, as mentioned before in the interview.
Yeah.
And it's got to be tough, but still, no matter who your opponent is, you have to take them out to advance.
One player must go home, but let's go into game number 2 now on Arena. Here we are at game number 2 between Patience and RagnaroK. And up at the top left in the red, the Zerg player, it is RagnaroK himself. Wait, what?
That's not RagnaroK. I know they're close, but they're not that close. We also have a pro block very early on this map from Patience.
Maybe that's why we were getting the view of his face.
Yeah.
Instead, really confused me there. I'm like, oh, did I not hit the camera? I was looking at my monitor.
He's like, you thought this was over? You thought
this was a joke?
You thought David Kim took this out of the game? Well, no. I double block your hatcheries. Let's see if he cancels that third pile. He probably should. And he's going to go into 2-gate at home. With gas, could just be trying to put on some further pressure.
Yeah, it looks like 2-gate Adept really wants to put on the pressure here. We saw Haas going for 2-gate Stalker, I think it was. But, I mean, the more common one that you see is definitely 2-gate Adept. Especially with the pylons down here, if you can get your mothership core across.
Yeah,
you go for that, you know?
He actually is going to keep the pylons alive. He's watching Haas, man. Some say Haas...
Still know those Haas builds, right?
Some say Haas was born with a photon cannon in his hand.
Yeah, I can believe that, Wolf, that's for sure.
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely going to be Adept pressure here. And let's see how quickly Patience can, or rather RagnaroK, that camera shot at the beginning messing me up. See how quickly he can respond to this. He already has his hatchery on the way. And one of the things about this map for Zerg is every other race basically can wall the ramp, but the Zerg cannot because the creep doesn't extend that far, especially when you have this hatchery out this late. So you can't just wall it off. So you will be able to just directly walk across the map. A Terran can put a depot, Protoss can put a pylon. Zerg doesn't have that.
Yeah. This is going to force him to make a lot of lings here early on. He has scouted the double gateway here with the Adepts. And he does have a bunch of lings at the top of his ramp here. Patience has to be very careful about how he engages this.
It looks like he's just going to fall back to that choke point. I think that's definitely the best way to do this. Cancel those shades. And once he starts to get the Adept count stacked up pretty high, though, that's when things get really scary. Plus the mothership core that can come across the map, it just spawned and was scouted by that Overlord. So pylon at the natural, of course, is already gone. The third base has been placed as well. There's no pylons here, but if he brings the mothership core and makes a new one, that could be quite powerful. Now, this is a tight wall here with these Adepts.
Oh, wow. He's trading quite well against all these lings. One-shotting them is going to lose the Adepts, but he does delay a long time here to get a couple more Adepts out for the defense at his wall.
Yeah, and he has, of course, been mining from more workers for a long time because RagnaroK was making a ton of lings instead of drones. The next is just finished, so things are going to even up here a little bit. But look at this Twilight Council. I don't think this time it's going to be for DTs. I think we're going to see those glaives come out right away, and we're going to see a timing attack. We've seen this on this map already. Can't remember if it was Pro League or StarLeague where we saw it in this matchup, but we saw a timing attack with this specific glaive follow-up. Not with the same opening, but it's very powerful. I don't know if you know the game I'm talking about.
I have it in my mind. I don't remember the players or if it was Pro League or StarLeague.
I
know what you're talking about.
The Zerg just it was the same spawning locations as well, and the Zerg just barely got some Hydras out, and then it wasn't enough though, and he died. We see this sometimes.
Yeah.
bottom line. Now, canceling a shade again, always threatening those Zerglings, making them run around. He's going to hide at this choke point. The Overlord sees that these probes are not mining, but sees also it's a low probe count here. And he needs to just kind of hide in this choke point. Every time the Lings come down, go back to the choke point.
Yeah, you can trade very effectively here. He could actually stop the creep potentially too, but RagnaroK did a nice job pushing him back so he couldn't snipe the tumor. But either way, can just continue to trade here, adding a couple more gates.
I don't know if this is going to work. There's already a roach worn out. Roaches are on the way. He doesn't have a transition point yet. He's adding those extra gates, but he doesn't have like a pylon set up or a gateway up at the pylon, which is going to be pretty important, obviously. This is very aggressive. I'm not sure about this move.
Is he going to be able to burrow in time? I don't think so.
I mean, I think that, I mean, he got into depth for it, I guess. That was questionable. It might have been just better to have that back in a safer location. Is that a forward pylon that's actually being made? I don't think it is.
No.
Okay, he's transitioning. This has been weird. Like, he added a ton of gateways. He went for the rushed glaives. It's almost like he's faking it, or he's not sure what he wants to do.
No, he definitely completed the 2 extra gateways.
Yeah.
So he's up to 4. But now he's just going into 2 Stargates, as you guys can see.
Guess we're just going to see 2 Stargate Phoenix to follow this up, which is common, just not in this way. A weird way of going to the same common end that we see in this matchup. With a +1 coming out here, though.
Yeah, we do have spores at 1 base, and it looks like a spore at the front of the natural. I think he's more concerned about DTs than air units, but he's going to have 2 spores regardless, and actually this Overlord is going to see everything. This was never cleaned up. It's been in here since the beginning of time.
Yeah. For us players, because they commit so much to Adepts, and when you do a build like what we see Patience do in this game, you kind of don't have time to make a Stalker. You just really don't. Like, if you make a Stalker, it screws up your entire build, and your build loses a lot of power. Because of that, the Overlords have a lot more freedom to scout. We do see Roach Speed on the way. It's funny we keep seeing these shades. This time he actually doesn't cancel because Patience hasn't been, or rather, RagnaroK hasn't been responding as well to that. But the cool thing about this is you can actually scout 3 ways if you split in 3 ways, and if they screw up, you just get a bunch of kills.
This is so smart. There is nothing over here for Patience. RagnaroK knowing the timing, committing to these Lings. That was about halfway done, that Nexus. He's going to have these Lings for fantastic map control, just going to delay this even more. And Patience, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of looking like a weird, kind of flimsy build from here. I mean, he's getting out a lot of Phoenixes. We're already seeing more spores being added. Can go into Hydras eventually here once he... I mean, he's already identified that there are double Stargate Phoenix coming out here, but hasn't committed to that just yet.
We're seeing extra Overlords being made, and that's very expensive, actually. RagnaroK just made 8 more, but I guess he's never going to be supply blocked again for the rest of this game. Shooting up now to 138 supply, 178 that he can make from. I agree. Like, the build, I think you described it very well, feels flimsy. It's like, well, he's got transition points, but they're not strong. The pressure that he put on was weak as well. It didn't actually do much for him.
Yeah.
And now he's down 50 supply.
And RagnaroK back at home isn't even going for Hydras. He's just making 3 queens out of a time out of his 3 hatcheries, and he's like, oh, that's enough. He's going to have unlimited transfuses, and because the rush distance is so small, the queens, although they're slow, they can get over there in time.
Yeah. And look at this, a big Ling run-in with Ravagers to support from behind. Corrosive Biles going down. And the Lings are really allowing these Roaches and Queens to approach safely. And this is just so much Zerg. He's tripling the army supply of Patience. I think he just dies here.
Patience only has Phoenixes right now. He's got 11 Phoenixes in the Mothership Core.
And I don't know if he's going to have that Mothership Core for much longer if a Corrosive Bile gets casted here in a second. GG.
Wow, okay, there you go.
What a weird game that was.
A failed early aggression, I suppose, into Patience not able to turn on the heat there. Gives the game to RagnaroK. And we are tied up 1-1 again.
Pretty funny how these games have gone. The previous game, it was an early attack on a Nexus that wasn't canceled, and he came back and won. In this game, it looked like a solid depth pressure, but he committed to it for so long. He went into Phoenixes, he had nothing on the ground, and RagnaroK just bopped him. So We are tied up now 1-1 in this best of 5. Anyone's game to take.
Yeah, guys, we're going to go to a quick 5-minute break. We'll be right back before game number 3.